Three very short comments. Number one, there was an assumption that I could read when I was asked to do this, apparently. Because number two, I have not read through this. I just got it a couple minutes ago. So forgive me if I flub up. Number three, I was going to come anyway, and you'll note I have an EMU logo, but underneath it, this white shirt is a Secure Futures solar logo shirt. Just wanted you to know that. So, none of that was planned. So this is from Beryl Brubaker. So listen, these are her words. EMU's story of creation care, a leader in sustainability. I've been asked to provide a history of Earth Keepers, a recycling effort on campus that evolved into a student club that continues today. While the archives hold minutes from the early years of Earth Keepers, I have relied primarily on Weathervane for information since the mid-1970s. In addition, it was suggested that I bring EMU efforts towards sustainability up to the present. For that, I relied on the EMU website, interviews with various folks, EMU catalogs, minutes of the Creation Care Council, and documents for accreditation. Where my comments are inaccurate, I hope you will correct me. Since Earth Keepers came out of a 1972 seminar at EMU, I will start with that seminar and then provide some historical context for the seminar. On February 29 to March 10, 1972, a school-wide seminar entitled Christianity in the Future took place at EMC. Meyer Nonsberger is here, that's my parenthetical comment, but he would have been president during those years. As an interdisciplinary seminar, it was considered an extension of EMC's interdisciplinary studies curriculum. According to the advertising brochure, it was also about the future of nature, humans, politics, art, and faith. Coming out of a time of tremendous social upheaval, advances in technology, and growing awareness of environmental destruction, EMC saw this seminar as an expression of its reason for being. That is, quote, to create with each new student generation a community of learning inspired by commitment to Jesus as Lord, end quote. That's from the brochure. Anabaptism was a common theme of the 2 weeks as the planners aimed to help students examine their Christian commitment in the challenging world of the future in light of their faith heritage. Some students got it. Said one student, according to the March 24 Weathervane, quote, I gained an awareness of myself as a Mennonite with roots in a past heritage, and at the same time am searching to find what it means for me to be a Mennonite today as it relates to Christianity and society in general. From another student, this quote, an idea that came across strongly was relating brotherhood to a distinct kind of lifestyle in the future. She went on to say that the Christian's attitude should be that we are a part of nature, and a simple style is important in a time of ecological crisis. What humans are doing to the environment in depleting and polluting its resources was a prominent topic discussed over the 2 weeks of the 1972 seminar, as was growth in the population and associated food problems. But conversation and action regarding environmental issues at EMU did not begin with this seminar. Today, the EMU website features this title, quote, 100 years of commitment to sustainability and creation care, from farm-grown food to LEED buildings. If you think the introduction of chickens to campus is an innovation of the 21st century, you would be wrong. The 100-year timeline on our website reminds us that in the early days, EMC grew crops and animals, including chickens, on campus. An agricultural program was begun and dropped twice in the 1940s and 50s. It would rise again in the 1970s, 1978, only to be dropped again. Furthermore, in 1952, there was a Rural Life Week with demonstrations of bread making and soil conservation, which we shall see were forerunners of later activities of Earth Keepers. There's also a note that students had to pay 2 cents a term for every watt of light above 40. Harold Miller tells me that EMC founder A.J. Equal may have been the first promoter of green in the valley. That's another story. From articles in the Weather Vane, it's clear that talk of pollution was frequent on the campus before the 1972 seminar. The December 10, 1971 Weather Vane editorial reports that the Student Senate had a week earlier appointed the Student Ecology Committee to investigate campus pollution and pointed to excessive paper use, as well as the possibility of recycling metal and glass. The same Weather Vane reported on a prior summer school course on applied environmental science taught by Kenton Brubaker and Claire Mellinger, and I know Claire's here, is Kenton? In which students studied the water and air pollution status of the Shenandoah Potomac watershed area. In the Weather Vane editorial after the spring semester, or spring seminar rather, indicates that students had already heard numerous chapel talks, as well as read statements on the opinion board about the ecological crisis. The editor called on students to boycott soda machines with non-returnable bottles and cans, minimize auto use, and practice conservation for such things as paper. The growing awareness of the impending disaster worldwide led to the first Earth Day in the U.S. in 1970, 2 years before the seminar. On April 22 of that year, millions of Americans hit the streets to increase ecological awareness and save the planet. Even the House and Senate in Washington, D.C. recessed for the day. And EMC classes were dismissed after 9:30 a.m. for a school-wide teach-in on pollution and overpopulation. In the 2 weeks prior, EMC students collected tin cans and other litter to create what was called Trash Mountain. Kenton Brubaker remembers starting a garden of ornamentals next to the Science Center on this occasion. This was the beginning of the arboretum he tended for many years. 2 years later, in 1972, EMU students, faculty, and staff were deeply engaged in a 2-week seminar that would highlight the environmental movement. Sarah Wenger-Schenk interviewed students regarding the 1972 seminar in preparation for writing an article for the Weather Vane. One student said, "It raised more questions than answers, but I think I'll look back later and say it was a turning point in my education." Sarah goes on to write, "Drowning in an almost continuous shower of despairing realities and hopeful alternatives, students participating in the seminar experienced a rigorous intellectual workout." Just a month after the seminar, on April 24, a group of 12 EMC faculty, staff, and students met to embark on a project to go beyond talk to action, a project eventually called Earth Keepers. The group was convened by Miriam Martin, an EMC faculty member. At least one page on the EMC or EMU website and a 2017 history project indicate that Earth Keepers was a student project initiated by students. While students were heavily involved, Earth Keepers was Miriam's idea, and she was the first chair of the committee. Later, there were co-chairs with a faculty member and a student, together providing leadership. Recycling was gaining attention after the 1970 Earth Day, and other localities were recycling newspapers. Nor was recycling only a thing of the 1970s. Googling reveals that paper recycling began in Philadelphia in the 1600s and centuries earlier in other parts of the world. Miriam remembers meeting with President Augsburger about her idea of recycling newspapers and says he was positive. Notes in the archives show that others present at the first meeting on April 24 included faculty Claire and Amy Mellinger and me, staff Jim Bishop and Dick Benner, and a number of students including Robert Most. Others who were heavily involved in the early days included faculty Ken Brubaker, Mark Brubaker, Terry Whitaker from the nursing department, as well as Diane Berkshire, a student. Apparently, at that first meeting, the group agreed on a plan to create pickup points around town where folks could bring their newspapers. Grocery stores would be ideal for people to bring their newspapers to when they shopped for groceries. Folks left that first meeting with an assignment. Over the next weeks and months, they would talk to grocery store managers, look for places to store the newspapers, talk to possible buyers in New Jersey, and Richmond. Explore loading options and transport possibilities, such as semi-trucks and rail. Search for machinery, such as a baler and a forklift. Contact the financial aid office about work study help. Arrange for publicity and make presentations to local media and make pickup and personnel schedules. The group picked up newspapers from 7 grocery stores, including Redfront, several times a week, sometimes daily. Occasionally, they picked up newspapers from individuals who called, and monthly they picked up from Bridgewater College and the county landfill, the latter apparently through the influence of Larry Hoover. Roy Steiner and Kreider Machine Shop made the containers placed at the grocery stores. Storage at first was in a room at Troy Laundry on Liberty Street in a place called the Inn near JMU. Later, the group used a chicken house on the road across from Weaver's Church and Bridges service station on Mount Clinton Pike. An old VW bus provided by EMC was used for pickup. Luke Gosho remembers it had no lights, so nighttime pickup was not possible. During the early months, innumerable contacts were made with businesses and individuals to make this all come together. In search for a baler, contacts were made with the Rockingham Salvage Company, Anderson Box Company, Walker Manufacturing, Packaging Corporation of North America, as well as individuals who had balers for sale or could construct a machine. The contact list for transport possibilities in a better pickup vehicle would be equally long. We eventually purchased a used baler for $150. Numerous community organizations contacted the group seeking information or involvement, including a number of schools, the JCs, and even the Junior Women's Club of Harrisonburg. Throughout the years, some local groups collected newspapers and then brought them to EMC for transport to Richmond. There was frequent talk regarding constructing a building for storage. The storage places were often provided temporarily. Our own building was important not only to provide long-term and adequate space, but also a site with easy access for loading transport vehicles. Again, members explored a variety of sites and construction options available from local businesses. Finally, by mid-1973, the administration agreed to provide space for building between Oakwood and the trailer court. Professors and students laid the foundation for a prefabricated building, which was then completed by Harmon Farm Supplies. The group set out to raise $12,000 to pay the loan from EMC for the building, as well as purchase a forklift and a new vehicle for pickup. In 1978, the loan was repaid and eventually a forklift was purchased. Today, the Earth Keepers building is used for storage, and recycling has been moved to the back of the facilities management building. Replacement of the VW van would not happen until 1988, when Central Coca-Cola Bottling donated a 1967 Ford truck to Earth Keepers for its recycling business. Those early days demanded tremendous dedication, as the work mostly depended on volunteering from folks with full-time jobs. I remember doing pickup, baling, and loading newspapers, and then traveling to Richmond to the Federal Paper Board Company to help unload the newspapers. That required several people to go along each time we took a load to Richmond. Later, the buyers came to EMC to load and transport the newspapers. Calls for volunteers frequently went out in faculty meetings and at student events. Once the group sponsored a bake-a-thon marathon, and then another time a freshman workday. Claire took advantage of opportunities for learning in his man and the environment class and had class members do pickup. Other classes were also interested in involvement. The minutes mention contact from John Evy's class on community organization. In the spring of 1973, the Committee on Administration accepted the paper project as a school project, and the project got a name. The name Earth Keepers is attributed to Ken Brubaker, who brought ideas for a logo and name to the committee. The name comes from Genesis 2:15, where Adam is placed in the Garden of Eden to tend and care for it. From its beginning, Earth Keepers had a theological basis. Interestingly, a staff writer for the Weather Vane in the much later September 13, 2007 issue, while noting that justice is at the heart of EMU's identity, found most EMU active groups on campus leaving out Christ as the root of their activism. He noted an exception in Earthkeepers, with theology being articulated as the foundation for their mission. A look at their website shows this to be true today. The statement indicates that Earthkeepers sees their work as a part of our call to be peacemakers. The project was truly an EMC service to the community. In turn, the community supported the project by bringing their newspapers and affirming it in a variety of ways. For instance, a DNR editorial in September 1972 commended EMU for the project. Actually, the byline for the name Earthkeepers was a recycling program for the Harrisonburg community sponsored by Eastern Mennonite College. There were many efforts to explore recycling other products besides newspaper. Early on, we recycled computer cards. Eventually, following multiple explorations, glass was recycled. The February 15, 1980 weather vane indicates that by this time, Earthkeepers was recycling newspapers, paper bags, cardboard, magazines, computer cards, computer paper, clear glass, and aluminum. Caretakers of Earthkeepers had to keep track of finances. There were costs for use of the van, as well as work study and sometimes summer pay for students. There were costs for equipment in the building, but there was also income from selling the newspapers, although costs per ton fluctuated frequently depending on demand. The administration had determined that the income would not go into the general fund, so how was it used? Some was used for campus beautification projects. Earthkeepers minutes in 1978 indicate a decision to give $300 annually to a community service organization. Later I will show that income was used for student scholarships. It was estimated that 1 ton of recycled newspaper saved 17 trees. By February 1975, 3 years in, the project had garnered 446 tons of newspapers, saving 7,584 trees. I don't know how many tons were saved from landfills or how much money Earthkeepers ultimately made. An article in Curio, produced by the Department of Communication Arts in JMU in spring 1979, reports a 7-year total of 1,300 tons of recycled newsprint and an annual income of nearly $11,000. In 1972, as some people were busy recycling newspaper, other efforts were underway on campus. The Student Senate Ecology Committee referred to earlier, some of whose members were also active in newspaper recycling, directed its efforts toward the campus itself. That spring, the Student Senate initiated a project to limit campus crier distribution. Instead of one in each student box, they were placed in a pile at the post office for pickup, as well as posted on bulletin boards. Another Senate effort was distributing recycling bins around campus. The Senate also explored alternatives to steel cans on campus and urged attention to water conservation. That September, the Faculty Council reported an action to support increased use of bicycles on campus and took action to approve the limited distribution of the campus crier that had been tried the previous spring. By 1975, Earthkeepers minutes suggest that some of the faculty had dropped out, including all the nursing faculty, perhaps worn out from the early efforts. Claire and Kenton remained heavily involved, along with Larry White. It appears that by now the majority of the committee were students. The minutes also show interest in a new area. The November 10, 1975 minutes show agreement to create a committee on energy conservation, which met already in January 1976 and began exploring possible areas to address. Neither Claire nor Kenton remembers what happened to this committee. Perhaps it was connected to Robert Lehman, whose work came to the forefront at this time. In 1977, Earthkeepers won a national competition in the college/university division of the Keep America Beautiful Awards program for its efforts to improve the environment. Carl Brubaker, son of Kenton, went to New York to accept the Silver Bowl Award. Carl and his sister Kay were 2 of the students who were very involved with Earthkeepers. In either 1978 or 1979, the weather vane is unclear on this, could not locate any minutes for this time. The business department took over Earth Keepers as a project for aspiring entrepreneurs. The March 31, 1988, and later weather vane indicate that profit was used for scholarships for business students. But apparently, in the early 1990s, Earth Keepers pretty much ceased recycling because according to the October 24, 1991 weather vane, the city was now doing recycling. It seems recycling on campus became the responsibility of custodial services, and Earth Keepers changed its focus to composting. But a February 8, 1996 weather vane opinion bemoaned the apathy on campus regarding environmental degradation and the limited efforts of Earth Keepers. The writer suggested that the organization had ceased to exist beyond an annual leaf collection project. He called for the resurrection of Earth Keepers as part of the campus becoming a model of sustainability and named a variety of potential projects on campus. Later in the November 4, 1999 weather vane, Evie King of Custodial Services would decry the failure of folks to use the recycling bins on campus as well as the messiness left behind in the bins. Failure to use recycling bins was revisited in the September 27, 2001 weather vane. One professor complained that the recycle bin was too far from his desk. No identification. Composting at EMC did not begin with Earth Keepers. Kenton doesn't know when he started composting, but certainly by the 1970s for his garden at the Science Center. Sometime in the 1970s, he and my husband Mark were also planting trees and scrubs to beautify the campus at a time when physical plant was not yet doing much landscaping. In February 11, 1977, weather vane indicates Earth Keepers was participating as well. They probably weren't doing this to increase carbon dioxide uptake, but it had that sustainability effect as well. Mark tells me that he planted the cuttings that became the 6 boxwoods that now stand tall in front of the library. He took these cuttings from the boxwoods in front of the old ad building, the Cracker Box. Mark tells me that Kenton planted the huge spreading cedar of Lebanon and D. Ralph Hostetler the ginkgo tree, both south of the Science Center. Kenton created a hazelnut grove behind the current marketing and communications department. He and his students also planted vegetable gardens east of the Science Center and experimented with different soil treatments as part of a horticultural class, thus providing hands-on experience for international agricultural students. Kenton tells me these gardens are now buried beneath the soccer field. One of Kenton's early students was Luke Gosho, whose involvement with Earth Keepers and assistance in Kenton's projects helped him recognize his core commitments. He remembers building bins below the Science Center for composting leaves, designing and building Kenton's experimental gardens, and making the Japanese gardens to the west of the library. He tells me the bins were made out of old railroad ties from the railroad south of Harrisonburg. He would go on to participate in many important environmental efforts at Goshen College, provide leadership in the formation of the Mennonite Creation Care Network, and publish a book on creation care. It was Jonathan Lance Trissel who revived Earth Keepers as a student club in the spring of 1977 while he was a first-year student at EMU. Jonathan remembers driving around Harrisonburg early in the morning in the fall with Kenton Brubaker to pick up leaves before the trash trucks got them. An article in the Weather Vane September 10, 1998, a year and a half after Earth Keepers was revived, reported that Earth Keepers protested a new residence hall laundry system that they saw as encouraging use of dryers because payment for a washing machine automatically paid for dryer use as well. This protest presaged what Earth Keepers would become in the 21st century. The weather vane over the next 2 decades suggests that Earth Keepers re-emerged as an organization focused on learning, raising awareness, encouraging positive action, and participating in activism both on and off campus, often in collaboration with other student clubs. Students attended national conferences and sponsored educational events. A variety of activities were directed toward recognizing our connection to the earth and promoting environmental justice. Among Earthkeeper's activities were the annual Food and Farming Week, petting zoos, plant sales, bread making, and support for the Arboretum next to the Science Center. They helped eliminate trays, not trees, in the dining hall, thus saving water. On campus, they called for EMU to make the new Commons building a green building, but did not prevail. Off campus, they marched in national climate events, protested gas pipelines, and helped clean up Black Run. More recently, they joined the climate strike that happened on September 20 as I began to prepare this paper. Most spectacular was the student project to install solar panels on top of the University Commons at Roselawn in September 2018, with Earthkeepers involved along with other groups. But in the March 28, 2019 weather vane, one of the Earthkeepers co-presidents expressed concern about inaction on climate goals toward becoming climate neutral by 2035. In 2013, EMU had signed off on the American College and University President's climate commitment and created a climate action plan. With that action, EMU aimed to become climate neutral by 2035 with a check-in in the year 2020. In the March 2019 weather vane, the co-president noted that the easy things had already been done and the really hard things had yet to be addressed, such as dealing with commuting to campus and flights to cross-culturals. At the same time, both co-presidents expressed disappointment in the continued use of styrofoam in the Royals Den and the recent installation of natural gas generators. For their part, Earthkeepers aimed to make students more aware of the climate action plan and urged them to make behavioral changes such as reducing shower time, dryer use, and driving. Some of the inaction on climate change was attributed to distraction by budget issues. This fall, 2019, Earthkeepers continues to urge the administration toward action on the climate action plan. Another challenge for Earthkeepers would be to get the students to stop bringing refrigerators to their dorm rooms. Leaving Earthkeepers, I will now turn to other energy sustainability projects at EMU, beginning with the work of physics Professor Robert Lehman. Apparently, Lehman had a lifelong interest in energy conservation and made energy-saving alterations in his own home, including installing a solar water heater. He shared his values with his children, Doug and Judy, who stirred EMC to make some changes. Here I quote from the EMU website regarding Judy and Doug. Quote, hunting for excessive energy use, they found a pavement crack between the library and chapel that was emitting heat. The two ran home for eggs and a skillet. Doug continues, we first tried to fry an egg in the skillet, and then we fried one on the pavement, and it fried quite nicely. We wrote in bold letters on the cement, this is a horrible waste of energy. Here is the egg we fried on the pavement this evening at 7:42 p.m. We signed the message with the following, J.D. Norwich, Investigators International. This was the moniker my sister and I used for all of our clandestine operations at the time. A leaky steam system was to blame, and days later EMC began repairs. Lehman was granted a 1976-77 sabbatical that allowed him to identify a number of energy-wasting practices. Further, he built a computer system to control and monitor energy systems on campus and set up a display in the Science Center to show EMC's daily energy use. It was up to Eldon Kurtz, physical plant director, to make the needed energy-saving changes on campus, including adding insulation, repairing leaks, replacing inefficient lighting, improving the efficiency of boilers in the central heating plant, and replacing the leaking steam tunnel between the heating plant and the Science Center. As a result, EMC saved $66,000 in utility costs in 1 year. Eldon says Leroy Troyer became a mentor to him and inspired him to work at saving energy. Troyer had been hired in 1978 to create a campus master plan during Eldon's first employment at EMU from 76 to 85. In 1986, the building of the new campus center Troyer designed and and Eldon helped build as an employee of Brunk Mechanical, provided a major opportunity to save energy costs. EMC installed a closed-loop water-sourced heating and cooling system that saved $3 to $4 million in the first 10 years. Troyer was ahead of his time on sustainability, doing new things that are now standard. In 1997, Eldon Kurtz returned to EMC as director of physical plant. About that time, the central heating plant was replaced with a natural gas distributed heating system that increased efficiency. One of Eldon's most significant efforts was requiring room reservations, so rooms were heated or cooled only according to the usage schedule. From 1980 through the year 2001, energy use per square foot continued to fall. After that, the graph of energy use flattens out, but with some fluctuation up and down. Eldon also implemented systems to control and capture stormwater runoff for use on campus. In 2003, he hired David Alleman as recycling manager, and when David retired in 2005, Jonathan Lance Trissel became recycling and waste reduction manager. Jonathan began navigating the campus by bicycle to collect recyclables, the first such innovation for any university in the U.S. In 2010, EMU took a big step by installing solar panels on the roof of the library, which further lowered campus energy use per square foot. Secure Futures did the installation. The co-founder and CEO of Secure Futures is Tony Smith, who began teaching in our business department in 2007. Tony was impressed with EMU's valuing of stewardship, so in addition to strengthening that value in the curriculum, he approached EMU about the possibility of a solar project. EMU's leadership became enthusiastic, even though Tony claims Eldon Kurtz asked him what he was smoking when he first mentioned him. At this time, this project was the largest commercial-scale solar project in Virginia. Thus, a great deal of effort with Harrisonburg Electric Commission and City Council was required to keep the cost manageable. Within 10 months of installation, actual output exceeded anticipated output by 12%. That same year, EMU became the first institution in Virginia to achieve LEED Gold certification when the new Cedarwood Residence Hall replaced the famous Oakwood dorm. Apparently, 2 years earlier, students from Doug Draper-Neufeld and Jim Yoder's Green Design class made a presentation to the Board of Trustees that had some influence on the board action in favor of all new campus buildings meeting LEED certification or qualifications. LEED Gold certification was also achieved for the renovation of Elmwood and Maplewood residence halls that followed Cedarwood. Many hoped the Science Center renovation would follow suit. Instead, EMU did the renovation to meet LEED standards, but did not spend the considerable amount of money necessary to track the results and apply for certification. In fact, some folks I talked to think the Science Center, in spite of greater efficiencies in many ways, likely uses more energy than before due to the greater airflow through the laboratories. A plan to put solar panels on top of the parking lot north of the Commons, referred to as Solar 2, never happened because of finances. But efforts to save energy continued. Over the past 10 years, the hill behind the campus center was converted into a meadow with orchard trees and beehives and disc golfing, so less gas is used for mowing. In 2016, EMU signed a performance contract with Siemens Energy Industry to survey campus energy use and implement $1 million worth of measures to decrease energy consumption and cost. For instance, LED lights, low-flow water use equipment, and variable speed fans for heating and cooling, depending on demand, have been installed. Natural gas generations that allow EMU to go off the local electric grid during peak energy use times were installed to qualify EMU for a decreased cost rate for electricity, with the expectation that all energy and cost savings over time will pay for costs incurred to make the changes. The natural gas generators referred to here are the ones the students protested, as reported in the March 28, 2019 weather paper. According to the EMU website, Because of its many energy efficiency efforts, EMU today uses just over half of the energy used by other institutions our size. While energy-saving efforts were going on in the physical plant, the curriculum is keeping pace regarding sustainability as well. As is typical in college biology departments, EMC had taught a general ecology course for many years. However, Claire Mellinger's course, Man and the Environment in the 1970s, began to focus more on the impact of humans on the ecosystem. Kenton, beginning in the 1976-77 school year, taught food and population that examined population growth and related food production problems. He also initiated the Agricultural Development Program in 1978 to prepare students to work in countries with food scarcity. Later, according to the catalog, the program provided preparation for international agriculture. The program was discontinued in 2006, although a couple of courses remain. In the 1998-99 school year, a major in environmental science was initiated. The catalog description for this course indicated, a strong emphasis is placed on a biblical concept of Christian stewardship in regards to the earth's resources. Later, environmental science was replaced by a major in environmental sustainability. In recent years, the biology and applied social sciences departments have worked together to provide majors in sustainability that recognize the social, environmental, and economic aspects of sustainability. A cursory review of courses outside these departments in the 2019-20 catalog shows a course in environmental and ecological economics in the business department, an elective titled Conservation Photography in the photography major, and a course called Ecological Thought in Spain and Latin America as part of Hispanic Studies. Dorothy Jean Weaver at least once taught a course in the seminary on creation care in Scripture and Church. Jim Yoder tells me the current efforts are underway to diversify further the environmental sustainability major with cross-disciplinary minors in at least 4 departments. While creation care was happening at EMU throughout its history, and some major projects toward energy conservation took place from the mid-1970s through 2010. I would suggest that several sustainability initiatives that took place not long before and after 2010 themselves played a major role in birthing additional sustainability projects and integrating sustainability throughout the campus. First was the formation of the Creation Care Council. On December 15, 2006, 4 ambitious faculty from the sciences, Bible and Theology Department and CJP, plus Andrea Winger from Communications met, calling themselves Be Green. Apparently this was not their first meeting because the December 15 minutes, which are the first ones I have access to, identify the minutes as number 4. The group held a campus-wide meeting on July 31, 2007, with 25 people in attendance and another 15 emailing they wished to be present but were on vacation. At the meeting, various departments shared what they were doing for sustainability. Out of the meeting came a proposal to create a Creation Care Council, the CCC, that would provide a forum for coordinating sustainability efforts on campus. The minutes of CCC suggest that they became more than a coordinating committee as they engaged in visioning and encouraging numerous sustainability efforts over the years. CCC would work closely with the committee responsible for the second initiative that exerted a major push towards sustainability. The second initiative was tied to our 10-year reaccreditation by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, SACS. Specifically, the topic chosen for EMU's Quality Enhancement Plan, or QEP. This was a new requirement of accreditation, and the emphasis changed from compliance with SACS standards to demonstrating institutional effectiveness. As part of this new emphasis, every school going through reaccreditation had to come up with a plan to improve student learning or the environment supporting student learning. In anticipating and carrying out the self-study and designing a QEP for the 2010 SACS visit, we began by evaluating our mission statement. And I'll just insert here, this was under the leadership of Beryl. She was in charge of the SACS reaccreditation process. Oops, shouldn't have done that. The words creation care were added in the prologue as one of EMU's emphases, along with peace building, experiential learning, and cross-cultural engagement. In addition, in the final shared values section, it was stated that together we worship God, seek truth, and care for God's creation. The words creation care disappeared in the latest mission statement revision. However, sustainability is listed as one of our commitments. Thus, a theological term is replaced by a currently popular term. Along with revising the mission statement in 2008, EMU's Strategic Planning Council began planning for the institution's Quality Enhancement Plan, or QEP. The council came up with 5 possible topics for the QEP: faith development, a teaching learning center, the global village curriculum, residential learning communities, and environmental sustainability. All 5 topics were lively discussions on campus in the months prior. Through an intensive winnowing process that involved input from the entire campus and external constituent groups, environmental sustainability was chosen as the topic for EMU's QEP. During the following year, a committee put together the Quality Enhancement Plan and called it Peace with Creation, Environmental Sustainability from an Anabaptist Perspective. The plan aimed to enhance undergraduates' knowledge, values, and actions through integration into the curriculum. In addition, the plan aimed to increase sustainable practices by every department in the university. EMU's choice of topic for the QEP was quite unusual. Most schools were focusing on common topics such as retention. In fact, when Sachs returned after 10 years and reviewed the implementation, the visiting team described EMU's QEP as, quote, a model for other colleges. One team member said, the EMU QEP focus is a unique and precedent-setting initiative. The final 2016 evaluation of the project demonstrated strong achievement of the goals through integration into courses, as well as the implementation of sustainability practices throughout the university. For instance, cross-cultural proposals now have to speak to aspects of travel and other in-country activities that would have environmental, social, and economic efforts. Partially as a result of the QEP, EMU established an Office of Sustainability, a Sustainability Coordinator position, and a part-time Faculty Sustainability Curriculum Coordinator to provide professional development opportunities. It was during the implementation of the QEP that President Swartzendruber signed the American College and University President's Climate Commitment, and the institution prepared a campus climate action plan with goals and strategies for becoming climate neutral. EMU also agreed to participate in the American Association for Sustainability in Higher Education's tracking program called STARS, and won a silver rating. 2 new student clubs were born during the period of QEP implementation. Clubs that, along with Earth Keepers, would themselves become major contributors to sustainability at EMU. One of those clubs, the Sustainable Food Initiative, or SFI, manages 5 campus gardens: Mount Clinton Garden, Kitchen Garden by North Lawn, Dogwood Garden, East Side Garden, south of the Science Center, and Naked Garden. Apparently, Peter Dula started the first garden in 2008. The gardens provide fresh, organic produce for the dining hall and for campus personnel or neighbors in the summer. At the same time, a composting class was testing different methods for composting food waste, and in 2009, EMU was approved by the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality for an on-site composting. As part of the composting effort, CFI transports dining hall waste to the compost pile below the Science Center. Compost provides rich soil for the campus gardens. The gardens also are used by faculty and students in studying sustainability, agriculture, and crop chemistry. Each fall, the dining hall hosts a local harvest meal with much of the food from the gardens. The Sustainable Food Initiative also donates unused dining hall food to our community place. They partnered with Earth Keepers to bring chickens back to campus in 2014 in order to provide eggs for students in Hillside Parkwoods residences. They also work with many community agencies, including VMRC's Willow Run Farm. The other club, Engineers for a Sustainable World at EMU, encourages student creativity for attempting sustainable engineering design projects. Successful projects have included solar-powered chicken coops, a stationary bike in the fitness center where the rider's energy is fed back into the electric grid, and a greenhouse used to grow vegetables in the winter. The latter won second place in an engineering design award at the American Society for Engineering Education. Choosing creation care as the topic for the QEP was a strategic move that generated enthusiasm and garnered administrative support for achieving results. At the same time, grassroots efforts of the Creation Care Council and Earth Keepers contributed to the success of the QEP. In fact, the Creation Care Council did a lot of the work to create the Climate Action Plan, and as I said before, their members have been behind many of the efforts on sustainability since their founding. As the QEP officially ended in 2016, funded positions, the Creation Care Council and student clubs were there to carry the ball forward. However, the sustainability coordinator position has not been filled since Jonathan Lance Trissel left the position, and currently minimal time is allocated for the sustainability curriculum coordinator position. How are we doing on time? I'm not paying any attention. The third factor that I would suggest has particularly increased sustainability efforts on campus is the annual contest for mini grants that arose in 2011 out of a combined effort of the QEP, the Creation Care Council, and Earth Keepers. Winning proposals have included clotheslines for residence halls, edible landscaping, trees for a new perennial garden behind the Science Center, compost bins for residence hall kitchens, reusable stainless steel travel mugs for the Common Grounds Coffee House, timers on the tennis court lights, water bottle filling spigots on library water fountains, installation of a drip irrigation system in 2 gardens and the hoop house, solar panels on the roof of an electric golf cart, LED light fixtures for the theater department, a water bottles filling station for the music department, a cafeteria composting station, and a bicycle cooperative. Another club currently at EMU, the Cycling Club, maintains the bicycle cooperative, which is called the College Street Co-op, where students can rent bicycles or practice bicycle repair and maintenance. According to the EMU website, the League of American Bicyclists named EMU a bicycle-friendly university in 2012 and awarded the university a bronze designation. One measure of EMU's success in its sustainability goals is the many awards the university has achieved. I've already mentioned a number of awards and recognitions. Others identified in the sources I have consulted are as follows. November 2, 1989, Weathervane reports that EMU placed 3rd in 1988 in the Keep Virginia Clean competition. According to the 100-year sustainability timeline on the EMU website, in 2007, EMU ranked 3rd out of 90 U.S. colleges for its efficient energy use, and a year later, EMU was first among Virginia colleges in the Recyclomania National Recycling Competition. The facilities management website records that EMU had been first in Virginia in the Recyclomania competition since 2015, and in 2019 we were 34th nationally with a 50% recycling rate. In 2012, in response to EMU installing a 100,000-gallon stormwater harvesting and storage tank, the National Wildlife Federation named the project one of the best green projects in the nation. Among 125 colleges in 2015, EMU placed in the top 10 in the Campus Conservation Nationals that measured reduction in energy consumption in 5 campus buildings. The prize was a 1-year license to install monitoring equipment on 2 campus buildings. In 2014, EMU joined a collaboration of universities measuring their nitrogen footprints. While not as commonly measured as the carbon footprint, nitrogen from fossil fuels and fertilizer for food production also is a a serious challenge affecting our environment. Several years later, in 2017, EMU received an award for its nitrogen footprint research at the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education Conference. It was reported that we are doing well in per-person nitrogen footprint, stormwater and grounds practices, food purchasing, and energy efficiency. Admissions is using EMU's reputation for sustainability to recruit students just as they have used social justice and cross-cultural experience in years past. In 2015, based on the conviction that Anabaptists should be at the forefront in responding to climate change, an alumni donor made a major gift that enabled creation of the Center for Sustainable Climate Solutions at EMU in collaboration with Goshen College and Mennonite Central Committee. Like Earth Keepers, the donor and others at the center believe sustainability is as central to who we are as is peace building. Part of the mission statement states, the center advances thinking and action in Anabaptist and other faith communities to mitigate climate change. Our work in research, innovation, education, and collaboration catalyzes faith-informed, justice-focused activity that promotes sustainable living, environmental justice, and care for creation. Recently, I learned that ACRS now has a subcommittee committed to sustainability. I understand that the group is exploring activities they might pursue in looking at sustainability in the wider Shenandoah Valley. They may also look into LJ heat wall connections to sustainability. Meanwhile, things are happening in Park Woods. What once was a 10-acre oak hickory forest. Kent tells me he began to be interested in it for its wild flowers. In 1998, he got a grant from the U.S. Forest Service that enabled him to do a survey of the woods. Over 2 years, with the help of students, he laid it out in 10-meter squares and documented the plants in each square. In the 20 years since, the woods has deteriorated dramatically with undesirable undergrowth, destroying the wildflowers and ash trees, replacing the oaks, but subsequently dying due to the ash borer. In 2018, 6 students as part of their environmental sustainability capstone course, Professors Jim Yoder and Jenny Holsinger assessed the ecological needs of Park Woods, including forest and water management, as well as stakeholder engagement. Because of Kenton's earlier survey, it was possible to measure changes over the years and assess the damage. An alumni group called Friends of Park Woods, organized by Paul Lehman and Kent Brubaker, helped bring attention to the sad state of the woods. In a recent Saturday, a call went out for volunteers to help clean up Park Woods. The work continues with Irving Glick and Kenton meeting regularly for cleanup. Facilities management is working with them by taking down unsafe trees. Kenton also tells me that the forest floor has plenty of oak seedlings so that the oak hickory forest can regenerate when the cleanup is completed. My husband Mark tells me that he created the original walking path through Park Woods. Now a stakeholder group of VMRC wants to remake the path to accommodate the handicapped. Kenton says they are ready to raise the money to make it happen as plans go forward at EMU. As I complete this story, I return to the topic of recycling. Today, the Facilities Management Department recycles plastic, paper, glass, cans, metal, and cardboard items, and neighbors add their paper and cardboard items as well. According to the department website, staff and student workers collect 70 tons annually of recyclable materials and compost from across campus using custom-built bicycles, pulling specially designed 8-foot trailers that can haul hundreds of pounds at a time. Bowl of Good and EMS add their food wastes for composting. Recycling of some of the materials provides income while decreasing costs of getting rid of waste. As I hope I have shown, because sustainability is part of our theology at EMU, we've often been at the forefront in making the changes necessary to achieve it, and numerous entities have arisen to serve this function. Sustainability is clearly included in the EMU mission statement, though I'm not sure about the current strategic plan. And What is the status of the climate action plan at EMU? I learned that we have continued to contract with Jonathan Lance Trissel after he left the institution to gather data and report on energy use. Tim Stutzman, Vice President for Finance, tells me there is a proposal to hire students to continue this task. He's currently working with Cabinet to decide where the institution will go with the climate action plan and how it fits with institutional priorities. He acknowledges that there's been a disconnect between its origin and current activity, with changes in personnel and priority turning to enrollment and finances in recent years. The specific goals for 2020 are not immediately attainable, so there is discussion about revising the plan to what may be doable. An online report at secondnature.org shows EMU 2018 carbon emissions lower than in 2017, but higher than at baseline in 2010. Earthkeepers co-presidents tell me there are plans for a talkback with President Huxman in spring semester. What is clear from my perspective is that EMU is fortunate to have the efforts of the Creation Care Council with representatives from key campus groups, including the VP for Finance and the Director of Facilities Management, as well as highly energized student clubs pushing for action. May this important work continue.
All right, let's go to your follow-up questions. As you notice, there's a lot of territory here. And whether you want to go in the context of the EMU statement, or whether you want to go with the Park Woods, I hope you caught that section, because that's a very active thing now, and the city of Harrisonburg is involved in that as a part of that interaction. And there are other kinds of projects that are going on. I know Cal Reddicock would comment on them as well. For example, the city schools, we're going to do more of this with solar panels, but now I think that's reduced to the Bluestone Elementary School at Garbage Church Road across from the high school. We'll have those panels installed there. So there's a lot of directions to go. I got a roving mic here. Vern has it there. Just raise your hand, tell us who you are, and let's go with your comments on sustainability, where we are, where we've come from, and where we should go. Okay, Cal, right here.
I just have ex-president talked about it.
Okay.
I want to commend Loren for that long, what we call it, discussion in his throat that held up. I really appreciate that. He did a great job. And his name wasn't mentioned, but Loren has been a very, very important part of the environmental theme here at EMU. But I wondered whether he could make a couple of comments about EMS and its rather exciting solarization project.
Okay.
So Secure Futures is signed, or is maybe momentarily today or tomorrow, signing a contract with the Mennonite schools to do a project on the roof of the current high school building. And that'll likely happen this spring. And a part of that is projected at least to be one of these barn raising opportunities where there will be students that will be allowed to participate in actually installing the solar panels. And the plan down the road is that as the elementary and middle school sections, or elementary, I guess it is, new renovated facility out on 42 is completed, there will be additional space for rooftop solar. And Cal has helped to instigate there have been some citywide conversations, 40-some, 50-some people met, I think, to talk about how we would utilize the location of that spot on Route 42 to promote solar more broadly. Maybe a sign like you see at some convention centers that have running number of trees saved or whatever. And that it would include more than just that location, but EMU, gift and thrift, several different opportunities to just promote solar for people that are driving by on 42.
Okay, and some of you may notice and have noticed that Mount Clinton Pike, where it intersects with the railroad to the right, south of that, is part of the Black's Run improvement work. All that work was done by Momentum Earthworks, Hans Harmon, the grandson of the late Frank Harmon. And so take a look at that as you drive by, maybe stop. These things are happening. And so what we're interested in ACRS is to collect all of these things and see how, in talking more with each other, more can happen. Questions? Microphone is here for you. Comments?
I might just add that on Wednesday morning, there's a new thing that just started here at the parking lot in front of Parkview Church. Wednesday morning, this I think is from the city. They collect newspapers, plastic bottles, and glass, and it's Wednesday morning, so you can drive by and drop off your recycling.
Okay, yes, Ruth? And then Irvin?
I am so thankful for this report. I've only known different things here and there from the edges over the years, and I'm just really grateful to Beryl for this incredible work to compile all this information. So I really appreciate this. I wanted to say that, I mean, these are small things, but I just wanted to say that after years of trying to keep my recumbent three-wheel bike under people's decks in Parkview at various places, because the Mount Clinton Pike Hill is pretty impossible and incredibly unsafe, especially with a three-wheel bike and no shoulder. I discovered to my great delight that underneath the cantilevered walk around the outside of the library, someone has installed little iron rings 2 feet from the ground for you to attach your bike. It's a protected place where you can attach your bike when you're there on campus, and I really appreciate it. And so I can go from my house and have a place where I can put my bike and go downtown on the Greenway. First time I went, there were 3 muskrats swimming in the stream bed, and it's a wonderful little entree to getting right downtown from EMU. Really appreciate it. I've wondered if EMU's ever considered something like a bike garage, which persons could rent. It would need to be secure, probably. At least you have security circulating on your campus, which is different from, say, Gift and Thrift, which does not. So I wonder if you've ever considered that, because that could serve a large part of the community, i.e. the whole EMU hill of people who'd like to bike, but you really can't navigate the Mount Clinton Pike. It's pretty forbidding. But otherwise, right from the corner of the EMU campus, it's wonderful access to the whole downtown and the Greenway and so on. And just a final question, when I inquired not long ago at the Earthkeeper place, they were not doing recycling, so I was just curious about Beryl's statement here, because I was trying to go to the Parkview Church parking lot here, but I just wanted an update.
All right, maybe somebody can respond to that. Irvin Stutzman here as the next mic, and any of you that can respond to some of these questions on current practice, please do so.
Well, mine was very much the same kind of question that Ruth had about bicycling. I was wondering what EMU's involvement was in the North End Greenway and in the Black's Run restoration. Just how was EMU involved in helping to advocate for that? Just curious about it. I love the Greenway, and I ride it too. I love it.
Okay, anyone respond to that, Loren?
I don't remember all the details, but I know I and several other people were involved in the very early discussions about the proposal for the Greenway. And I think my memory is we took an official action to encourage that, support it. But beyond that, and then of course it transpired mostly after I left, so I don't know the details beyond that. Your other question was about...
Well, like the restoration.
Oh, yeah. Well, Yeah, others may have a better information. My sense is that that's been at the informal level. There have been many staff people, faculty at EMU involved in the cleanup efforts every year and communicating that, etc. I know Steve Johnson, not just on Black's Run, but Steve Johnson has done an incredible amount of work through the digital photography program involving students in ecological photography. Not just Black Run, but many other streams, water, etc. But that's as detailed as I can get.
Okay, yes, comments here? And Terry Burkholder back there.
I have a question about Virginia Mennonite Retirement Community. I go there regularly, and I know they have the garden, which is a wonderful thing. Where they are with sustainability, recycling, and solar and all that. I don't see a lot of evidence, but I don't live there, so I'm...
Okay, anybody can respond to VMRC? Go ahead.
You mentioned the garden. Were you also talking about the farm?
Well, no, I mentioned they have the farm, that is wonderful, but the facility itself, what they do about, I've seen cardboard put in the dumpster, and if they have any talk about solar or where they are being concerned about sustainability.
I'd love to answer that. I can't. So let's see. What about you?
We're very much encouraged, we're very much encouraged to bring our recyclable stuff up to Park View.
Yes, right. Yeah, we're encouraged to bring things to Parkview here to recycle the church.
I'll just add a comment about solar. Cal has been at the forefront, clearly, and has put solar at his expense and at VMRC's benefit, solar on his cottage. And there was a meeting not too long ago of interested people where there was discussion about that and information provided. Secondly, we have had some conversations with Judith and others about solar more broadly. I would just say, for one thing, the facilities have not really been designed very well for solar. I mean, first of all, most of the buildings are shingled. That's a bit of a challenge, not impossible. But when you design buildings, you prefer, first of all, to have them south-facing as much as possible. That helps. There is discussion, I know there has been discussion about BMRC's property on the other side of 42, which could be potentially utilized as a ground array. Not without some challenges. I mean, you got to get the power across 42. That's not easy. So I would just say, yes, I think there's interest, but I think, like with many institutions, and I'm dealing mostly with public school systems right now, to get a public school board of 5 or 7 people to agree to a new idea like solar takes an enormous amount of work and many interactions. I'll just tell one very quick story from a county, I won't name it, but east of here, quite a bit away over the mountain, that I've not personally been involved in, but one of my colleagues has been. And 4 years ago, they had 5 board members, and 4 of them were women, 1 male. The women wanted to pursue solar, and the male said, not a way, no way this is going to happen, and he convinced the women to vote against it. Fast forward now to just this past year, the 5 board members revisited because the administrator pushed and pushed and pushed. The same male is still on the board. He was asking questions like, does solar actually work? No, we're just putting them up on a building to look nice. We're spending millions of dollars. I mean, it was absurd, if I may use such a professional word. But they took a vote, and they voted 3-2 to pursue. So we have a we're gonna have a contract with them. So it can happen, but it just takes incredible patience and persistence, especially for public entities and or nonprofits that have many, many interests.
Okay, Terry Burkholder?
Just a quick comment about the university bookstore. I started employment with Follett Higher Education in 1997, and in the year 2007, my regional manager was asking questions about some of the reports that I was submitting regarding our recycling program, and I was to be working with the university on that. And in 2008, the regional manager and the VP from Follett visited the campus, asked a few questions, and several months later, Follett Higher Education recognized EMU's work through the bookstore as being one of the top 5 out of over 700 bookstores that they managed. And that I never shared with Beryl, but that's also important information that an outside organization that services the campus through the bookstore recognized what the campus was doing.
Okay. Harold Miller, stand Harold, if you would, it chairs the ACRS Sustainability Committee. Convey thoughts, ideas, suggestions. We're going to hear more from that group over here. Rick Yoder?
I understand that some 15 or 20% of the material that's sent to recycling actually gets recycled. The rest goes into the landfill or the ocean or something like that. Can anyone speak with authority on that?
All right, can anybody answer Rick's question? Where do the recyclables go?
15%.
15%. All right. Well, Vern, you know?
I don't know, I just know that here in the recycling at Parkview, here in the parking lot on Wednesdays,
Yes.
I noticed that they have a receptacle there for glass. And I asked the gentleman who's managing that, what happens to the glass? And he said, well, we provide a service to consumers to take the glass into the landfill. So that's what happens with your glass if you bring it to be recycled here.
All right, back to Clara.
That's what he said.
Well, the landfill does use some of the glass in their covering up there. Every night they have to cover whatever was put into the landfill, and has to be a certain quality of clay and dirt and so forth. They use some of it for that, but the glass is not, probably falls into your 15% of actual recycling. And, I don't know any more about the 15% than that.
All right, we expect...
When they take it, I just meant to say when they take it to the landfill, doesn't mean that it's necessarily buried.
That's
Okay.
good, thank you for clarifying that, Jim.
All right. Well, we're going to hear more on this topic over here, Margaret.
Actually, I want to do something different. I want to say that I think what Beryl did to gather all this information for us was an incredible task. And I hope that we can do something here to say officially to her